Okay, hello everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Peter Llewellyn and I run the services at MedComms which are intended to encourage people around MedComms around the globe to talk to each other, share information, champion best practice and so on. You'll find lots of information, details of meetings and so on, but not everyone can come to the meetings, so I'm trying to run more of these Zoom webinars to reach more people in more parts of the world. So today I'm delighted we've got Daniel Clifton with us, and he'll be joined by Mike Ellingham for the Q&A session in a moment. And we're going to talk about the healthcare communications salary survey that's just been conducted this year. It's the second year we've run it. So on that note, I'm going to hand over to Daniel to introduce himself and to talk us through a presentation, at the end of which we'll have time for a Q&A. So over to you, Daniel.
Okay, hello everybody. As Peter said, I'm here to go through the Healthcare Comms Insight Survey for 2019. Daniel Clifton, I'm the founder and managing director of Paramount Recruitment and Paramount Incorporated in the US. We're a life science recruitment consultancy, got over 16 years healthcare communications experience, and we provide global services, UK, US, Asia, and throughout Europe. So on the back of the last year's survey, which was very successful and received very well within the sector, we decided to repeat the survey, but add a couple of more questions and see if there were any trends and comparable information compared to both the years. It was launched on the 1st of May 2019, and it's a collaboration between Paramount and MedComms Networking. There were 639 completed responses, and Mike Ellingham from Mezzo Marketing is the guy who crunched all the numbers and has produced a report and a presentation for today. We were similar sort of comparable numbers to last year. We're hoping for a little bit more in terms of the respondents. There was a lot of effort put by myself and Paramount and MedComms Networking to get those numbers up. So it'll be interesting to see how we can maybe increase that next year. Okay, so the contents of the webinar, lots of information in the report. So we tried to condense this down into key points within the reports and information within the sector. So today I'm going to present who completed the survey, what the average salaries for each role were, regional and gender variations, pay rises, benefits and perks, employer plans, and the industry outlook. Okay, so who completed the survey? So as you can see from here, general management was 10.44%, account management, client services was 7.69%, creative and digital 2.2%, and writing was right at the very top at 45.73%. So majority of the people, respondents who completed the survey was writers, followed by account handling and general management. Okay, so which areas do people work? As you can see from the survey, majority of the people who completed the survey was from the UK, a very similar amount to the previous year. We saw an increase from the US respondents as well, which was interesting. So the focus of this survey is going to be based on the UK. Where were the people based? As probably you'd expect, majority of the people were sort of London, Southeast and Northwest. We find that that's because most of the companies are based there, and also a lot of the talent's based there as well. So average salaries for each role. We've got the data similar sort of to how we presented it last year. So we've got data from 2018, which is the average for each level, and 2019 we've got the average, but the lower each level and higher each level. And on the right hand side we sort of tried to put a comparison between the 2 years, but as you know, probably different data sets, different respondents might have an impact on how these are presented, but it really gives you an idea of what the 2019 average salaries were. As you can see from scientific team lead and editorial director, they were on minus figures. We know for a fact that those didn't receive pay cut. It's just that the data set might be slightly different for those. But just to highlight a couple of things there, senior medical writer, sort of average salary was 44,170. An editor was 37,615. Senior account manager was 43,700. And as you notice at the bottom, we've included general management because we've got quite a bit of data on general management. The average sort of salary for a director board level was 101, and managing director CEO level was 130, going up to 175. Again, it gives you an idea on sort of the lows and the highs for each salary bandings for each level. What I do think it does show for each specialism, it shows a very clear career path and where you can sort of develop your career and where you can progress to, and also gives you an indication of the sort of average salary that you might expect at that level. Okay. On the freelance side, again, majority of the freelancers that completed the survey was writers. We found the same sort of thing last year. So we don't really have any data on any credible data on the account handling side, although we are placing quite a number of account handlers as well at the moment at the freelance level, so we might be able to help you on an independent basis there. But the survey said that the writers on average were charging sort of 425 day rate for a medical writer, and a senior medical writer was 479. Again, there's the lows and highs for each sort of level. Regional and gender variations. Okay, so looking at the locations of medical writers throughout the UK, the average salary for medical writer in South East England was 40,476. In London was 38,909, and the Northwest was 37,154. So as you can see, there's not a massive sort of north-south divide in terms of salaries, but it gives you an indication of what the average salaries are for medical writers throughout the UK. Okay, so the gender split. So in 2018, there was a gender split of 18.75% male being paid more than females, which was very interesting. When we broke down the data in last year's survey, we believe this was due to a high sort of split of males versus females in terms of salaries at director level. So 90,505 on average and 68,000 on average for female. The other roles and responsibilities are very comparable, so there's no real difference there, to be honest. This year, the gender pay gap was 25.9%. which is even higher than last year, which we thought was very unusual. So when we broke down the data and split it into average salary per role and responsibility, as you can see, the difference between male and female, that has dropped dramatically compared to last year, which looks like that may be being addressed. It's slightly higher as a male than female at director level. But one of the other factors that we saw was interesting was at manager level. Was 59,746 for male and 49 for female, so a 10K difference there. So that was an unusual thing. But as you can see from this, it doesn't look like there's a 26% difference in gender pay gap. So we broke it down even further to see what percentage of respondents were male and female at each level. So as you can see, 57% were male and 43% were female at director level. So as you can imagine, there's more males that have completed the survey at director level, and obviously because the salaries are higher, this will have an impact to the overall average. The other sectors, other responsibilities are around the sort of 70 to 30% split for each department. So I found that was really interesting. We found within the industry as a whole, it's generally 70-30 split between females and males, and I think that was sort of comparable to last year's figures. Okay, so pay rises. 2018, when we asked the question, what sort of expected pay rise do you anticipate? 5.23% said, 68.8% said they expected a 5.23% increase. Well, when we asked that question this year, is what actual pay rise did you receive? It was 8.3%. So I'm sure there's a lot of happy people in the sector receiving pay rises, which is good to see. This year, when we asked the question, what expected pay rise you in the next 12 months for 2019, the average increase expected is 6.89%. So it's good to show that people are receiving higher sort of pay rises than they originally expected. And it'd be interesting to see what the data shows next year when we do the survey then. Okay, so benefits and perks, great industry. There's all sorts of wonderful perks and benefits that employers offer. As you can see from the chart at the top there, working from home is 76.87%, which is really, really high. That's definitely an increase on last year. As you can see, green is 2019 and blue is 2018. Other benefits that employers are providing: bonus, company performance is up there, additional company pensions, death in service, private healthcare, bonus on a personal performance level, but also flexi time. As you can see, it's 39.87%. That's a big increase on last year as well. So it looks like flexibility and working from home seems to be on the increase. Another perks and benefits, as you'd expect: season ticket loan, childcare related incentives, travel insurances, share schemes, subsidised meals, and company car at the bottom. Okay, so we asked, what's your favourite perk or most unusual benefit or perk in your workplace? Top was working from home, followed by flexible working and bonus. It's really good to see that employers and employees are talking about how they want to maybe have the working arrangements. Do they offer flexibility? Can that work in a workplace? So we're seeing a lot more companies offering that. As a recruiter, we're seeing a lot more companies offering more flexibility in home working, and it seems to be really a perk that people enjoy. Some of the other interesting ones were dog in the office, which I thought was cool, birthday day off, free fruit in the office, and summer Fridays, finish early, free breakfast, and enhanced pensions. So some really interesting benefits and perks that the industry is offering. Some people are more creative than others, but it just goes to show you've got the ability to offer different things. Okay, so some headlines and quotes that people made were: ability to set my own schedule, e.g. 4 10-hour days, £250 a year to spend on personal development outside of work, and free on-site wellness resources, 24/7 gym, nutrition advice with 3 food samples were another perk. I think there's really nice things to offer. Okay, so when are you anticipating your next career move? Again, similar sort of numbers to last year. 31% expect to make a career move in the next 12 months, which shows again, screams that there's lots of ambition in the marketplace. There's people looking to progress their career. That could be internal and external, but what it would say is that there's a lot of opportunity available in the sector, so that if you've got some rising stars and people are wanting to progress, very important to listen to their views and opinions and wants and desires to make sure that you're offering the right career path to support your growth. Okay, employer plans. Okay, so we've got what employers are planning to hire in the next sort of 12 months. So we've got data from 2018. 42.2% said they were going to hire more new employees than over the last 12 months. This year, it's 51.79% expect to hire more employees than over the last 12 months. That just shows growth in the sector. It's a really high number. We, again, as recruiters, are seeing most companies have got plans to grow and build, and it just goes to show that everybody's anticipating growth, which is brilliant for the sector. Industry outlook. So we asked this question about what's the future hold for the sort of MedCom sector. We had some brilliant comments. There was too many to show on a presentation, but I've got a couple here that I'd like to share with you. One, the first one being, I see a sustained growth, albeit one that may be affected by the UK's exit from Europe. Digital offerings will become more routine as platforms develop, enabling better and cheaper access to this media type. Patient involvement-led publications will increase. Companies that offer a holistic approach to MedComms with business units that work efficiently together and with similar goals will prosper. Another comment was, seems like growth is slowing, or that there is more scrutiny over budgets, fewer blockbuster drugs, so large accounts more difficult to come by. There is a transition from more traditional MedComms of pubs and meetings to online digital deliverables, online meetings. So we thought we'd just summarize some of the comments that people made and put them into subject topics. At the top was digital. So the question will be, is digital the direction clients are going to be going in the near future? Do we have the talent in the marketplace? And are you offering that service? Is that something that could be an opportunity for growth within your organization? Growth, again, everyone's anticipating growth. So we definitely need a throughput of new talent coming into the sector. but that's brilliant to show that in the industry. A couple of other comments, Brexit, skill shortages and budgets. We'll know probably after the 31st of October as to what's going to happen there. Our opinion on the sector from a Brexit point of view is I don't think it's going to have a big impact, but I would definitely like to hear your opinions on that. But it shows that there's some exciting times ahead, and people's views of the sector are very exciting. Okay, so again, just the contents, just to go quickly summarize. We covered who completed the survey, what the salaries for each role were, regional agenda variations, pay rises, benefits and perks, employer plans, and industry outlook. We had so much data, which will be available in the full report, which Mike will be is producing, and will be available if you email me. I've got my contact details at the end of the presentation. But the things that you could expect in that survey, in the full report, would be what employees like and dislike about the roles, what is important when looking for a new job, how candidates look for new roles, views on MedComms as a career, the average working hours and overtime, detailed future trends for the MedComms sector, and also we'll provide a separate infographic for the USA, which might be of interest to people who've got US operations or maybe considering expanding into the US. Okay, so that comes to the end of the presentation. I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, the full report will be available. Just email me at dclifton@pararecruit.com. I'm sure we'll be moving into a Q&A sessions. Hopefully we'll be able to answer them. I've got Mike with me, who's crunched a lot of the data. So we look forward to hearing your views and questions.
Fantastic. Okay, thanks, Daniel. Can you hear me all right?
Okay, yep.
Excellent. Okay, so are you going to, we're going to bring Mike in beside you so that we can, can see him there. So this to the audience again, as always, please, this relies on you asking some questions, making some observations. You've got a couple of options. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you have a chat button and a Q&A button. Please use both, either. It's not going to make much difference. Text in your questions, your comments, and we'll pick them up and deal with them as best we can. I just wanted to make a general comment, which I think was worth making, which is that, and the reason behind this survey, I guess, going back a year ago, there isn't a lot of this data out there publicly, is there? And there seems to have been, there's been a demand from the marketplace. So, surveys like this always have some limitations. You touched on the inevitable problems. You don't know quite who's necessarily answering. We've only got 2 data points so far, but it gives us a useful handle on the marketplace, which isn't otherwise available. So I hope people are appreciating the value in this data. We've got a question coming straight from Anne Claire. So let's just look at this straight away, shall we? What's your view on? Oh, I thought I'd jump there. What is your view on pay rises in this sector versus others? So is it being is it driven by desperation for talent as opposed to solid growth in revenue? Client rates are relevant. So I think this is an important point. In this marketplace, people are screaming out for new staff. So that's what's driving it. I've got an observation on that.
Yeah. I think we do the life science sector as a whole, and I'd say this is breaking all barriers in terms of pay rises and growth. It's doing really, really well as a sector as a whole. Don't forget the pay rises may be due to people being promoted, as well as just natural progression within the organisation. But also when we see candidates maybe looking for a move, they're always asking for a pay rise. Very rarely do you ask for a pay cut. And I think this could put challenges on employers, because if you start offering certain people with certain skill sets, then what about the employees you've got at the moment? So yes, it's going to be challenging, but that's a business decision you need to make. What was the other question? Is talent? Is it being driven by desperation for talent? I think clients are being very selective and not desperate. Whereas before, many years ago, it was a case of, right, can you do the job? Yes, let's get you on board. I think culture, I think personal fit, I think the fit for the employee in terms of the role, the excitement of the role. I think these are really important factors, all the benefits and the perks, as you notice about flexibility. So you don't have to just throw money at things. You can offer flexible working, home working, things like that, that are, probably more important to people than let's say a 10% pay rise. Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. People the agencies are screaming out for people. That is true, though, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. A high percentage of people are recruiting, and not just one person here. Account handlers, medical writers, What I would say on that is on the freelance side, we are seeing a big increase on permanent people going freelancing. So if there is a demand for projects and a shortage in a short period of time, I would definitely consider the freelance as an option. It works really well with some of our clients, and it's definitely an option that's worth considering to support growth or even high demands and workload.
Okay, let's just deal with a couple of questions that have come in dealing with the basics. Liz's question, I think you did explain this, but let's just have another quick review of that. Sorry if I missed this. How was the survey circulated and publicised? Were only current UK working respondents included? So just very quickly, I know you covered it in your presentation, but let's bring everyone back up to speed if they came in late. But just basically, how did we circulate and the data in?
I would say last year's survey was quite easy to get, say, 650. Not easy, but it was easier than this year. This year we have really pushed hard. I'm sure that I would hope there's not many people in the MedComms sector that hasn't received some sort of request to complete the survey. This is a question I would say there's some really good data, but there's some black holes in there as well that I think that if we had more respondents, we could provide better data on those areas. So I would say that maybe as an industry, certainly when we do it next year, is maybe work with employers to see how we can get the most respondents. We did a push on the US as well. So that was an increase on the US. Again, we'll provide a separate infographic on there. The US market is booming as well as the UK market. We're seeing massive growth there. So that's good. But yes, I mean, I would say that most people have seen the survey, and it'd be great to see more respondents next year.
But the bottom line is, and specifically to answer Liz there, we shouted about it, and it was on social media, and it was on we emailed, and we shouted about it in different ways, and anybody from anywhere in the world could join in. It's just that's the way it's fallen. So probably reflects the strength of our own contacts, I guess. Is going to be a bit more UK based, but it would be lovely to get more people around the world joining in. A couple of questions I think have come in from different people. Do we know how many individual organisations were represented?
No, we don't. We didn't ask for that information. It was very much people's individual data rather than them giving what agency they work for. Yeah.
No, that's fair. So there's a couple of questions on gender disparity. So let's just deal with that then. So Frankie's saying pretty depressing data. We've also got a point here. Any insight as to why the gender divide in terms of salaries is there, as it's quite a female-dominated industry? Again, I have to say I'm very keen that people don't look at the headline here. They do think about what the data is saying, and you did address that a little bit. But perhaps we should just review the comment that you made again about the fact that the numbers can affect the numbers, as it were. Just review that again. I know you said it in your slides.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all to do with who responded. There was definitely an increase of senior management, general manager, director level candidates applying, which gave us good data at that sort of level. I think I would throw this back to companies and employers at the moment. Do they see that split? Is it something that's being addressed internally? When I've spoke to some senior people in the sector, they said that there is a divide at the senior management level. There is sort of a lot of male compared to females at the senior level, so that might have an impact on some of the data. But no, I would like to find out from people's opinions as to are they feeling the same in terms of the gender split.
And I guess quite a few companies must now be analysing that for themselves within their own companies for their own purposes. But so I think the point you made in your slides was if you have more males than expected at a director level who are by definition on a higher salary, then that's going to affect the stats sort of thing. And you showed several breakdowns which showed really quite a lot of parity really. So there's a statistical quirk going on in there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's. I'll just jump in here. When you look at gender pay gap reporting, that type of model is very, very common in the legal sector, for example. So every legal company will say, no, we pay female and male workers at every level exactly the same. It so happens we've got 70% senior partners are men and 30% women. So therefore, the average salary earned by a man in our company is higher than the average salary earned by a woman in our company, just because we've got far more higher paid senior partner men than women. And that then gives them an artificial, 20% pay gap, when they say actually everybody at every level is paid the same. It just so happens we've got more highly paid men. And I think there was an element of that in our survey, because there are undoubtedly more higher paid men than there were lower paid men when you look at the overall numbers. So there was something like almost a similar number of men at director level as there were at a team leader level, and slightly less than there were at the lower level, whereas females, there was far more at lower levels.
Yeah. So again, we've got to be very careful with this sort of conversation, but I do like the comment that's come in here. Women are too busy doing their jobs to respond to the survey, maybe. So you can look at these numbers in different ways. And I think, some of this is very much, a discussion point, which we're putting back to agencies to get them to think about it, I guess, a little bit in their own terms. Yeah. Someone else has come, well, Anonymous has come in saying it'd be interesting to split this down for size of companies. I'd expect the entrepreneur level, the gender pay gap would be less. There's more detail there. This came up at a careers meeting recently where somebody was asking about this, and there's no doubt there's lots of companies that are set up by women. So if you can divide out the different sorts of companies, you're going to get sort of different numbers, and it's going to depend a little bit on who joins in and who doesn't the survey. So I think we've got to recognise the limitations whilst also applauding the fact we're getting some insight here.
Yeah.
What I missed is there was this question I was going to pick up on, which is the bit where I get a bit more interested in. Sally's asked a sense of what people's drivers are for moving roles in terms of progression, therapy area, benefits, salary, and so on. I mean, again, you showed some quite nice data in terms of the benefits, the perks, the sorts of the things people liked a bit more, like flexible working and so on. I mean, that's a really quite an interesting development over the last few years, isn't it?
Yeah, we see that with quite a few of the sectors at the moment, offering flexibility. We have got data in that it's going to be in a report that's going to answer that sort of question. So, what will people make? What were the key factors when making a decision to move in the next role? And we've got some data that will be available in the full report. It's not a problem. It really separates everything. But I would say flexibility is a key thing. As we know, some companies are offering 4-day weeks. Some people are offering home working. I suppose it depends on the individual and how you set up as a business and what culture you want, working environments. I think it's really understanding your employees and maybe offering different things. Some people might be attracted to the working from home. Some people prefer to be in the office. It really depends on the individual. But I think it's really listening to your employees, what type of culture you want to create, and then making it very clear that that's the sort of vision that you have moving forward, and these are the sort of people that we want to join our business. And then I suppose if your clients know about the flexible working, it seems to be working quite well within the sector. Again, I would like to know from employees' opinions if there has been a difference, if it has made a happier workforce, more productive, or it's just made everybody happier. I know when we've offered flexible working here, it's definitely people like to leave earlier on a sunny day and things like that. So and the opportunity to work from home, I think, is a nice touch.
It's great, and you and I have talked about this before. I mean, the flexible working is great. The technology allows it. It's great. But my personal bugbear is if I try and contact somebody on a Friday, I can't seem to be able to get through to anybody. And I find that there's an interesting dynamic going on here in a service business. Flexibility is great. The employees love it, but you've still got to service the business, haven't you? So I guess individual agencies have to find their ways of dealing with that.
Yes. Yeah, of course.
A couple of I'm bouncing around different questions here. Feel free to jump in if you see anything I'm missing. Can you see anything regarding, I don't think we'll see this, but have you got a comment maybe? So anything regarding the movement of medical writers to and from industry? So it's been commented increasingly that MedComms agencies are nursery slopes for in-house pharma roles. Is this so? Is it getting worse? That's not really in the survey, but have you got any comment on that from a general point of view, from your position?
There's always been a high demand for medical writers, and I think people do move into more flexible working. Freelance, which has an impact on permanent employees. But I do know a lot of the larger organisations are taking on a lot of trainee medical writers, associate medical writers at entry level, and are being open, not necessarily have to have a PhD, but maybe an MSc or something like that. In terms of qualifications and coming into the sector. I think it's like anything, if we don't have enough people coming into the sector, there's going to be more people leaving the sector. But I would say medical writers is definitely there is a high demand. There's always been a high demand, and we definitely need to see more people coming in to the sector at that level.
But specifically between pharma companies and the agencies, do you see any particular points there in terms of more or less movement?
Yeah, we work with top farmers, actually. We don't see many positions available for your traditional medical writers. When I've spoken to a lot of people, they're saying that pharma companies, they're going outside, and using, really give it all the comms going to an agency. And then I see a few companies saying actually want to bring it internally. So I think there's probably more companies going outside to experts who can provide a full service or specialist services than keeping it in-house. I think it's, I'm not saying the talent in the pharma is different, but I think the agencies have got some great talent in there, and I think pharma companies appreciate that and acknowledge it.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, from a personal point, or from my point of view, I'd have thought you see people like maybe writers, but they're going into more pubs planning type positions within pharma rather than a medical writing role within pharma. And you can sort of understand why the training is good for that. But I don't know. It's very difficult with some of these questions.
Just on that, Peter, as well, I would say on account handling side, we see people going into pharma and then coming back to agency and flipping between the two. We always thought that once you'd crossed the road and you've gone to the pharma side, you wouldn't really come back. But we are seeing that happen, and companies are being open to people from industry moving back and things like that. So, I think it's just being open in terms of your talent acquisition plans to those types of candidates.
Okay, cool. Lindsay's asked a question in there somewhere. Where's it gone? Was there detail on whether patients and parents, people are looking to move agencies? Are they moving agencies, or are they moving within the agencies? Do we actually split that out in any way?
Do you know what? I would say the larger organisations are great at this, where someone is maybe not quite happy with where they are at the moment, and providing opportunity. I mean, that's not just about the role itself or the type of projects they're working on. It could be location. If you've got offices around the country and someone wants to move to London or move from London to Manchester and you've got an office in Manchester, that's one way of keeping people. So I think it's just being open and listening to employees about what they want and what direction they want to go in, and seeing if there is a chance to maybe keep hold of that person. But you appreciate that people sometimes like to move companies because of the career opportunities and different projects and different working environments and things like that. It's just people are different.
But move around. I think in the survey we were asking whether you're going to move job, not move company. Is that right? So the data basically could mean one of two things, couldn't it?
Yeah. You could. Your next career move could be with your company or it could be elsewhere, but you just need to be aware of it.
Okay. All right, let's jump into the freelance world a little bit from Jenny. Any insight on number of people going freelance opportunities available, especially with the dreaded, this is a UK specific thing, IR35 that's going to be coming in the new year, I suppose, in the private sector. So any sense of the movement of people into freelance world and what the challenges are the freelancers are experiencing?
Okay, right. So writers, from our perspective, a lot of companies have a great list of freelance medical writers. So we don't see so many contract opportunities, demand from clients for freelance writers. But we are seeing a massive increase in account handlers, account manager, senior account manager, account director level. Certainly at the account director level, there is a big demand for freelancers. So I think we did an article a few months ago about how easy it is to make that transition, but also the challenges that you may face, like your IR35, setting up a limited company. Are you going to be doing it long term? Is it a short-term fix? Is it something you want to try? I think if you're going to go freelance, you've got to have the right motivations to do it. But there's definitely opportunities. I think companies now, where, as you see, there's massive growth, there's lots of projects. If employees are overworking to try and meet demands of projects, then a freelancer can help out there. If 3 months or 6 months. I would say that if you are from an IR35 perspective, I would definitely say it's useful to maybe not stay with a company for 2 years, or maybe a year and a half or something like that. But if you're providing consultancy services, and most people, I think the freelance contract lengths are about 3 months at a time. So people move around. And if you're really good at what you do, then you'll get recommended and you'll have the opportunity. I think there are trends. There seems to be a big demand at the moment for freelancers. I don't know whether that's summer holidays. But if anyone wants to consider that, I think it's a great option to help with work demands.
Okay, yeah. I mean, certainly the freelance community has grown massively over the last few years, hasn't it? Again,
yeah,
numbers on it, but there's a massive increase there. So let's talk a little bit more about you talked at the end a little bit about future of the industry, the state of the business, and so on. I mean, the headline seems to be healthy, growing, but definitely moving into the sort of the digital online, and of course patients coming up very much in there. But any more observations you want to add to that in terms of the state of the business?
The digital one is very difficult to pin down in this sector. It's companies are offering digital, but the talent that we have in the digital world is not as advanced as maybe some of the other sectors, the consumer sector. So my challenge will be if clients, if pharma companies are looking for really sophisticated digital solutions, do we have that capability within the sector at the moment? Do we need to look outside the sector to bring it into the sector? And is that a service that people want? And should we be offering it? I think there's an opportunity for growth in that sector by the sounds of it. It's definitely around the corner. I don't know about you, but I'm seeing all sorts of digital marketing activities just as a consumer now. And I think it's certainly going to be involved heavily in the life science sector, 100%. So we need to embrace it. How we get the talent into the marketplace is going to be a challenge, I think.
Okay, cool. I've got one eye on the clock as always, and I'm thinking we should probably draw the formal part of this session to an end. I think though that final point is worth just reiterating. This is a healthy sector which is going in the right direction, and this data I think has been a useful insight into what's happening. So hopefully very useful for everybody. And just a reminder that if somebody wants the full report, they can email you directly. Or it's going to be available both on your website and it'll be available on my surveys page. So there's a lot more data there if people want to contact you directly. So on that note, can I draw the formal part of this session to an end? For those of you online watching us, we're not going anywhere, so we're happy to carry on talking and answering your questions. But for now, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Daniel and to Mike. And maybe if we just say goodbye, I'll stop the recording and move on to a little bit of a chat with people informally. So bye-bye. Say goodbye.
Thank you.